Hi, this is Elizabeth Stephan at Western Libraries. This is a video on how to use Business Source Complete to do company research. Business Source Complete is our main business database. You can find articles from trade journals or general magazines and journals to academic journals. You can also find company reports, industry reports, and other useful information. I am going to do a general search looking for company information, and I am going to use Kroger as an example. When typing in a company name, it's a good idea to think about what the full company name is. They oftentimes have an Inc. or a Co. after it. For Kroger, I'm going to do Kroger Co. and then just do a general search. There are options to limit your results directly in Business Source Complete. I'm going to start out really general and just see what's available. When you do a company search like this in Business Source Complete, one of the first things you will see will be the SWOT analysis and the profiles, the company profiles. You'll see there is a company profile. There is also a SWOT. They are from the same publisher, MarketLine. The company profile includes the SWOT analysis. Not all companies have a company profile, but almost all companies have a SWOT analysis. And SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I will talk a little bit more about that when I get into the company profile. I am going to start with the profile because I want to see the full profile and not just the SWOT. I can access the article right here. I want to look at the PDF. The table of contents, they are linked. This gives you an overview of what's available. Company overview through history. This is going to be basic company information. A lot of this would be directory type info, the type of thing that you might be able to find in a company encyclopedia or even something like Wikipedia. Key employees will give you executives and then their biographies. Major products and services. This can be useful because it will give you the types of items that a company sells or that they manufacture. It also gives you services and brands. Brands can also be a subsidiary. This can be useful with a company like Kroger because they are such a large company and cover grocery stores and supermarkets across the country. This list can be fairly long. And then you'll get to the SWOT, or the SWOT analysis. You'll see it gives you a list of all of them, and then it gives you a narrative below that. Strengths and weaknesses are internal. Opportunities and threats are external. So strengths and weaknesses are things that the company itself is working through. One of their strengths is their store network. That would be that their brands or those subsidiaries. They do have a large network across the United States as far as grocery stores. It gives you other things that are listed as far as their strengths, that brand portfolio. Again, that gets into that network. Their weaknesses, it's their operational performance. This is something specific within Kroger. The performance of the company declined in the fiscal year 2023, and that is despite a 1.3 growth in revenue. Opportunities and threats are external. Those are often things that are outside of the company's control. They can be economy, they can be other competitors, or just other things that are happening within the industry that can impact this company. Opportunities and threats are useful if you are looking for information related to Kroger's competitors, because the opportunities and threats will probably be somewhat similar between the companies. Also, if you are looking for a company similar to Kroger but not Kroger, maybe a smaller regional branch or regional chain of grocery stores, they will probably have some of the same opportunities and threats that Kroger has, even if they are much smaller than Kroger. If we look at the opportunities, we can see some of the things that are happening within the company. They launched new seafood items, but I think looking at this, you'll see food and grocery retail market. That is looking at the overall market within the U.S. The company stands to benefit from the positive outlook, so this is an opportunity for Kroger, and it gives you some information as far as what is happening. So this is looking at some of the specific areas. There's an increasing consumer spending. That is when this report was specifically published. Demand for fresh products, changes in consumer preferences, and then shopping culture. And then online retail markets. They stand to benefit from the growth of online retail markets. And then it talks a little bit about that online market and what might be happening. Threats, they're going to look at regulations. That is a threat within the grocery and supermarket industry, labor costs in the US, and then intense competition. The grocery store and supermarket industry is a highly competitive industry. There is stiff competition, directly competes with several national and regional supermarket chains. And that includes not just supermarkets and grocery stores, but also things like supercenters like Walmart, membership warehouse clubs like Costco. The rest of the report is going to focus on competitors. And then after that, the company view. If you look at this first paragraph, this statement says the statement has been taken from the company's 10K filing for fiscal year 2024. This is coming from the company itself. The company review section of these reports often come from the president's letter that can be seen in an annual report, or in this case, in a 10K filing. So while this information can be useful, it gives kind of an inside view of what is happening within a company. It's also useful to remember that these are coming from the company itself. They are not an outside view, they are an inside view of how a company is operating. But it does give you that view. If we keep going, you'll see locations and subsidiaries. This is where you will get into information related to where they have subsidiaries and where they are located. But come back to our list. If I want to see articles about Kroger, not company reports or SWOT analysis, there are a couple of things that I can do. The main thing to do is go up here to source type and then click on the type of articles you want to see. I want to look at trade, magazine, newspaper. I do not want business reports because that would include the company reports and the SWOT analysis. And then I want to look at academic journals. And that focuses the results on just those articles. This will include articles you see listed here that says it's a periodical. That means it's coming from a general subject. If I want to look at one of these articles, I can either click on Access Now and see the full text. I can click on the article title and see more information about the actual publication. This is the name of the publication, the date, the page numbers, subject terms. Subject terms can be useful because it can give me some other search terms and other things to look for. The abstract, that will give me an overview of what the article is about. If we go back to our results, if I want to focus my search and expand it, I'm going to go back to the advanced search. I'm going to hit clear all. If I have set any filters in that main search screen, they will transfer back to this search screen. So I'm going to stick with Kroger, and I want to look for competitors. So Kroger company and competitors. And again, the results list are going to focus on relevancy, not necessarily the date. So you'll see I have an article from 2010 coming in at result number 5, and then also something from 2024. I can change this to the newest date. That can be useful. But one thing I want to look at is I don't want to see anything related to Albertsons. And the reason why is because they recently tried to merge with Albertsons and the merger did not go through. So I don't want to see anything about Albertsons. And right now, if I look for articles related to competitors, I'm going to get quite a few related to Albertsons. So I'm going to look for Kroger and competitors, but not Albertson. And that changes my search quite a bit. Some of these articles we saw in our previous search, but it does kick out those articles that are talking specifically about the merger or the failed merger of Kroger and Albertsons. If you see, it's telling me this publication, this is a newspaper, trade publication, American Banker. One thing about trade publications, they can be really useful when you're looking for information related to an industry, as well as how a company operates within that industry. Trade publications are publications created by somebody in a specific trade or industry for somebody within that specific trade or industry. If I want to look at the article, again, I click on Access, and it opens up the PDF. When you have an article that you see and you want to look at, you can save it, you can forward it, you can download it, you can print it, you can also have something read to you. And then after that, I want to move away from looking at information on competitors to looking at Kroger's consumers. I want to look at millennials and younger. So I'm going to look for millennials or Gen Z. So when I search, it's going to look for Kroger and millennials or Gen Z. Again, the results are done by relevance. So when you do a search like this, let's look at this first one. This is peer reviewed. It's an academic journal. This is the title, author. This is the name of the journal. These are different subject terms related to the type of search that we are doing. And then often other keywords. These can be really useful because there can be other search terms or other things that you can use when doing a search. And then it gives you industry, etc. So this is looking at more generally at grocery shopping. Kroger is coming up because they are mentioned as one of the companies that they are looking at. And so they're coming up as a keyword. So here, within the decades, large supermarkets like Kroger, Walmart, and Safeway have rolled out online stores. But then it also talks about how the introduction of Amazon and the acquisition of Whole Foods, how that changed things. This seems like something that you want to look at. Again, you can access it here, and you can download it directly. You can save it, forward it, and then download it. Come back to our results. So this is relating to millennials and as a consumer. While I didn't add in my search that I was specifically looking for consumers, it is going to be looking for other things. This is looking at Gen Z within the workplace. If I want to filter out some of my results, so I want to really make sure I'm seeing articles related to consumer behavior, I could try changing my search and adding maybe consumer behavior to my search, or just consumer. I can also try a filter. If you click on the filter, this will give me an option to filter out my results. I can filter by full text and other types of things, by date. I want to look at subject. All articles in a database are organized by a subject term. And this is a way that I can filter out specific results. Out of these results, 743 relate to Generation Z. You'll see 245 relate to social media, but I'll see Generation Z consumers. I can click on that. These first two results are focusing on employees or workers as Gen Z. But if we scroll down, you'll see a little more related to marketing or consumer behavior. You will also start seeing things related to articles or consumers outside of the US. If you want to make sure that you are only looking at things related to the US or US consumers, you can filter out the United States. And this may give you some more information. This starts to get more and more away from Kroger when I do that, so I actually want to remove this. So by filtering out Gen Z consumers, it moves me a little more away from Kroger and just kind of Generation Z in general. If that's not what I want, I can come back to subject terms, remove that. What may also be useful, this first article is looking at millennials regarding online versus in-store grocery shopping. Instead of looking specifically at Kroger, it might also be useful to do a search for grocery or supermarket and millennials, just to give some more of that general overview. It may also be worthwhile to break up this search and maybe look just at millennials and then just at Generation Z to see what kind of results we get. This is a quick overview on how to use Business Source Complete to do company research. If you have any questions, please let me know.